Welcome back to another podcast.
Hello.
AJ and myself. How you doing?
Me and Matt. Matt's that side of me. What side is it? He's that side. Yeah, I'm all right. First of all, let me just apologise to the viewers if they see my camera sort of moving around, because it does bug me. It really does annoy me. That does. Because I'm on I've had to download the StreamYard app to the iPad in order to do this, because it directs me to the downloading the app now, and the camera in this thing, whereas on the original StreamYard it wouldn't do it, but on this it's like the camera follows and it makes movements when I'm not even moving, so it's annoying. It annoys me, so it might annoy you. Don't look at me, you cover me up.
Just listen to your voice.
Yes. Anyway,
right, so we're
back
for another chat today, and I thought this time round the subject is, are we feeding an addiction? So what I mean by that is, does YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, any sort of social media, how does it affect us as a collector? And are we influencing others, or others are influencing us? This kind of thing.
Negatively or positively?
Absolutely, yeah. So, let's have a little discussion on this subject today.
Well, as you know, I've done a video on addiction. You
have, yes.
Thankfully, I sort of have. I don't know. It's a work in progress. I'm not sure that I've entirely beat my habit. No, I'm joking. Not that sort of a habit. I've done a video on feeding it, this sort of addiction, this addiction to collecting. Just for the record, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I haven't drunk in, Christ, I was 21 when I stopped drinking, thereabouts, and I'm like 48 now, and I haven't drunk in that time frame. I've been completely sober, in control for the most part, and I've never done drugs. So my addiction was spend.
Yeah.
So I've got nothing left. Live like a king for a day, and then I live like a pauper for the rest of the month until I get paid again. Now I live like a king for fantastic for that one day. But there we go. So it's feeding an addiction.
Yep, right. So we'll be back in a sec, and we'll get stuck into this subject.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the intro. That's the first time I've actually sat and watched your intro. Normally you catch me on my phone at this point.
Yeah.
But my phone's on charge upstairs, so I had nothing to look at, so I had to watch the intro.
There we go. That's the first.
Luckily it wasn't 3-minute one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Right, so interesting subject, this one. Are we feeding an addiction? How does social media affect physical media? That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
It is. That's what she said.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway. I don't know where to start. It's quite a broad subject. It's quite a big subject you've picked. I couldn't talk about for quite a bit of time. We need to get into it. I don't know where to start. Where to start? Okay, yes. Feeding an addiction. I can come at this from saying yes. I felt that I was addicted to buying. I think that social media. I think that these channels that we produce and put out don't help. I think that watching them, if you don't produce them, you're watching them, they don't help. It's kind of. I'm giving all this I'm going to give all this evidence to not watch and to not make. But yet, I'm still going to watch and I'm still going to make a channel about. But yes, most definitely. I think it's funny because I think that all of these bad habits, you know, fear of missing out, day one picking up, blind buying, I think they all culminate. They all come together.
Crossover, yeah.
This they do all cross over. I mean, I think we discussed that on the last one, how, you know, we did discuss it on the last one where I said about you pre-order, and I've done a video on it. You pre-order, you know, okay, the Fall Guy's just come up, right? As we're recording this, the Fall Guy has literally come up for pre-order, the Steelbook. Lovely looking Steelbook. Well, I like the art on it, and I've pre-ordered it. I haven't seen the film.
No.
But pre-ordered it. How many other people have pre-ordered that and not seen the film? And this is part of this is part of the addiction. This is part of the fear of missing out. This is, do you know what I mean? So we are being mind controlled in a sense into buying something. Okay, we haven't parted with the money yet, but pre-ordering it, buying something without having seen the product. Now, certainly before I see the film, I know, before I get the Steelbook, I know that I will have seen the film. One way or another, whether it's legally or illegally, I will have seen the film before it comes out, and then I can make a decision. But the fact is that yes, and all that comes into play because a lot of it because it's heaped on by our channels. Because you know, people know they don't want to miss out. They don't want to. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I'm showing this. It drives that kind of thing. It drives that addiction. And the other term I used for it is being a slave. It's being a slave to it. Being a slave, and that's what helped me break my or break. You know, break away or start to break away. Start to make changes in my collecting habits, because I don't. You know, when you say I'm a slave to something. You know, I look at that and I think, I don't want to be a slave. And that's what being addicted is. You're a slave to something, whether it's alcohol, drugs, buying. It could be, you know, addiction crosses so many. It doesn't have to be negative, something overly negative, but it can have a profound negative effect on things. And I think that when this sort of thing comes spiraling out of control, feeding this addiction, is when you start noticing that I'm actually spending money that I've set aside for bills, or I've set aside something else, and I'm starting to chip into that, or I'm using the credit card I don't have a credit card. I've got into trouble before with credit cards. I mean, we can talk about that. We're going back 15 years, you know what I mean? A long time ago. But it's all part. And I feel like I'm talking and you're not.
No, it's fine.
Shutting up.
I mean, I think, from obviously that side of things, you've got to be disciplined financially. You've got to get your priorities. You know, obviously, if you're using money that's for bills and things, that's not a good way to collect. If you ask me, you've got to.
No, it's not.
I mean, I think we're all guilty of it. You probably have a certain set budget that you put aside each month, and we all do it. We all go over that because something will come along, and you know, it's like, oh, didn't realize this was coming up. But to kind of sort of link in with the subject, I think we are then influenced by what we see, be it on a YouTube channel, Facebook. I mean, I do post videos on Facebook. I'm not really that active on Facebook. It's not something that I really want to sort of delve into. I know there's a lot of Facebook groups and a lot of interaction on there, but it's far more. I think people can get far more sort of involved in discussions, shall we say, on there. Whereas I feel YouTube is far more of a visual platform, yes, obviously we do get comments. And just to give you an example of, as of recording this, yesterday, the Crow Steelbooks from Zavi came out early. I know it's due out on the, is it
Monday?
6th? Yeah, 6th of
Yeah,
May.
Bank Holiday Monday.
Bank
Yeah.
Holiday Monday. Now I was fortunate. I managed to pre-order that Steelbook. It's a film that I love back in the 90s. Do have 2 other versions on Steelbook, but I did like, I like the version that I picked up. But this very morning, before we came on to do this, somebody actually left a comment saying, I've gone on to Zavi to try and find this Steelbook and it's not there. All I can find is the standard Amaray version. And I've said, I've had to go back and say, fortunately, this one's sold out. Your only option is to obviously look on eBay, but it'd be quite expensive.
Well, saying that, I've just listed mine on eBay. I bought 2 copies. Okay, well, I've ordered 2 copies, as you know, the Zavi one and the standard one. I'm more a fan of the standard one, but I wanted the crap that was inside the Zavi one. So I've listed mine on eBay. It's opened. It ain't got the art cards or the poster, and I've put it out for sale at a price that would, well, basically, okay, it'd still be full price. I'm trying my luck in that sense, but it's far cheaper than any other on there, because I'm not gonna overcharge the odds. Okay, yeah, postage I've put onto it, so I don't really. My idea is to make a come out even as I can.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I haven't taken the mick with it. I could have put it up for 50 quid, 60 quid like the others. I haven't. I've put it up at about 35.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Take into account postage and fees and that sort of a thing. And to see how it goes. Hopefully the other one doesn't come damaged when it turns up. Or someone.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't consider myself, I'm quite a small channel compared to yourself and others.
Well, not really. My numbers, my channel numbers, you've got to remember, have been inflated by one video that just doesn't, really, it doesn't bring views, So realistically, a little bit higher, but that's the output, isn't it? That's the mental amount of output that I used to. I'm still doing it. I feel like I'm still doing it, but there we go. Low downs. Give it a week, it was low down.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, within the sort of blue tuber community, I guess, you've got certain bigger channels, shall we say. I don't want to name names, but they obviously get quite a lot of views on videos.
Can I name? No, I
if you want to, it's up to you.
No.
But I would guess. Yeah, they're probably what you'd class as an influencer. I've got this edition or this edition, and that obviously people viewing these videos, they're obviously physical media collectors, may not have known about a particular edition before. They see the video and they think, oh yes, okay, I'll go back to the original website, sold out, eBay. And this is where your scalpers come in. They know this. They know obviously that people are watching YouTube, Instagram pictures, Facebook groups. So eBay there. I mean, obviously you've got Facebook with the Facebook groups, and I know there are people that buy through Facebook groups. That's something again that I've not delved into.
No,
I don't know whether have you done that?
I've not bought for a Facebook group yet. No, I'll be honest, I don't really look either. I don't, even though I'm on Facebook with AJ's Movie Place, not myself, I don't have a personal Facebook. I've not had one in over 15 years. Done with that. I hate Facebook. I hate it with a vengeance, but it's good to help promote the channel, so to speak. That's what I
Yeah,
utilize
that's
it for.
what I use it for.
But I don't spend any real time in there looking at too much. It just don't have the time to do it. But no, yes, we you know, how many times have I seen someone's video and, you know, it's like, oh, I like that. I mean, I've done it with your stuff. I've seen your stuff, and I'm like, oh, I like that edition. I'm going to see if I can get that. Yes. So you have the influence there. You have the influence. Like, even though I've got my own channel and this sort of thing, and so have you, I'm still influenced by other people in that sense. Not so much now. It feels like it's less of a, to a less degree now, but certainly there is still an impact to be had.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You yourself recently, you got that dread.
Yes. Yeah. On the back of
dread, and that
I had seen it before. But yeah, obviously when you mentioned that the price that you got it at, I kind of straight away I was like, oh, that sounds quite good actually.
Yeah. So what happened with me is I came across it. I came across that just browsing Amazon Italy just by chance, and then I went on to YouTube and I thought, I wonder if there's any openings of this so that I can actually see it, which led me to Keith's video of it, his opening video, which I took a look at, and I liked what I saw. I only skimmed the video. I didn't like, you know what I mean, just quick snippets here and there. Didn't watch it in full, and I thought for the price, okay, it's limited. It gets, you know, you got that little comic book, you got the card in it, you got that lovely slip that's velvety feeling, and the minute spot gloss on it that I've possibly only seen on the back of something like that on the back of one of the Justice League, Zack Snyder Justice League film arena boxes, which was the body of Steppenwolf, which was done in that kind of very minute, you know what I mean, spot gloss
texture,
embossing kind of thing. But minute, So what I'm saying, my point is that I wouldn't say I was influenced. Well, was I influenced by Keith's video? It helped, but I'd had my eye on it. I saw it. I wanted to see what it looked like. Then I pinged it to you. Then you took a look at Keith's video again, I believe, and you went and got it as well. So that influence exists between.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we can't deny that there isn't an influence amongst ourselves, at least, and that influence then stretches out to the viewers, the people that don't have channels and just view and comment, which we love you all. Do you know what I mean? But that influence is there. Is it a negative influence, though? Is it a positive or a negative influence, or is it a bit of both?
I think, again, it's up to the individual, isn't it? And again, you know, when I say addiction, that again is something really for the individual. You could say you're addicted to collecting, but you've gone through this experience yourself with culling. You know, you've realised you've picked up a lot of stuff over the last few years, and you've suddenly had this realization, hang on a minute, you know, I need to stop and reassess my collection, you know. And you've gone through that process, and I think that's actually helped you identify maybe bad collecting habits.
It has indeed, it has.
I don't know whether possibly it is addictive to an extent, but it's up to the individual to kind of become disciplined and think about, hang on, let's take a step back here. You know, do I need this on day one release? Do I need multiple copies of things?
No, absolutely. I think and this comes into the other side of it. This you know, and this sort of segues me into talking about as a content creator, so to speak, for want of a better term. I think that a multitude of my bad habits have been influenced by having the channel, most definitely, by watching other channels and this sort of a thing. Because one of the worst things for me, and in hindsight, was the Blu-ray hunting. The Blu-ray hunting videos that I used to do, which people love Blu-ray hunting. That's great, you know, and they used to get decent views.
Very popular.
Yes, but I stepped away from them because, number one, I started to not enjoy them. Number one, I used to see, it's the same stuff I used to see. And it's got to a point now where I go into CEX and there's nothing to pick up. The reason there's nothing to pick up, because I bloody picked it all up anyway. Right. So I'd go out, I'd do a Blu-ray hunt, and it was like, I'd go into justification mode, go into CEX. Oh, this is cheap. This is really cheap, this film. I've not seen it. You know, £1, £2, that's less than a cup of coffee. It's less than or the equivalent of a VHS rental back in the day. But yeah, I get to keep the film. Doesn't matter if I like it or not, I get to keep it. There was that kind of thing at play. So I'd go on these hunts, and yeah, you'd buy it because it gives you something to show. I'll pick this up. I've not seen the film, but I picked it up anyway. Then it amounted to all this crap. And then the influence from other channels and the realization that, you know, there's these different steelbooks come in, the love for steelbooks. Do you know what I mean? All this sort of a thing came into play as well. There was a period of time when I didn't even like steelbooks. Yeah, I can go back to like maybe 2010 era like that, and I remember that Captain America: The First Avenger came out on steelbook, and it was the steelbook I got that's got the shield, had the shield on the front.
Yes, I've still got that. Yeah,
and I bought it. Yep, I bought it, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that it was a steelbook rather than matching the Amarais that I had for Iron Man, Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, and I thought I've bought this and I should have just got. I prefer the artwork on the Amarais anyway, which has him on it. So I sold it. I sold it straight away on eBay, and then I got the Amarais, and so that was an era of time where steelbooks for me were. You know, and these special editions were nothing. It was more the film. I'm happy with the film in a case. But then, you know, I started getting collector's editions before that. Of course I did. A few collector's editions here and there. Not many. And I think my very first video on YouTube was an unboxing of the 4K special edition of Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka. And I bought it. I've been contemplating doing a channel because I'd been watching people's channels. So I was just a viewer at that point. But I'd had a big collection because I collected for years, and I had the toys and I had the comics. And I thought, let's do a channel and talk about all this sort of stuff. But certainly at that point, I was watching other channels and I was being influenced by people picking this up, people picking that up. Oh, that looks nice. Let me go and get that. And then going to my own channel, that's when I'll do the blue. Because I originally, if you remember, I said I wasn't going to do Blu-ray hunts. I said I'm not going to bother with that. And then I started. I'm not saying that I won't ever do a Blu-ray hunt. I get a video again. I will. When we meet up again, I'll certainly be filming. I'll film in. If I go somewhere different, I haven't been. There's a CEX I've never been into. I may well go in and film it for that, just for that sort of prosperity kind of thing. Because I haven't been in that, and it's new. But certainly now, CEX is a thing of the past for me. I will look online to see what might be in a store. If I'm going somewhere, if I'm going to Bromley, or I know I'm going to Orpington Way, wherever, Woolwich, I might scan through, see what's in store, and then I'll say, not even worth walking in. Not even worth. I've done it before. I've been in Bromley. A couple of times ago, I went to Bromley. I walked into the CEX. I started looking at the shelf. I got through the ABCs, and I thought, I can't even be bothered to look through the rest. It's just, it's not going to amount to anything. So out I walked. So yeah, influencing. Yeah, I've been influenced. I've been, you know, but I've come to realise that. I've had that realisation that, you know, and yeah, that realisation hit me hard.
Yeah,
hit me hard.
And I think, I mean, think some people are steelbook collectors, myself included. However, I won't. I'm not the sort of collector that just picks up every single steelbook that comes out. It, you know, the artwork. Well, yeah. Obviously, firstly, it's got to be the film. Did I like the film? Did I enjoy it?
Yeah.
Just take, for example, Madam Web. Now, I don't think, are we getting a steelbook in this country? I know in the US that's just come out.
We are, yeah. I know we are. I've got it on pre-order.
Okay. I've seen a few channels unbox the US, you know, the Walmart exclusive. Now, I didn't enjoy the film. I think it's one of the worst comic book films ever done, in my opinion. And B, I don't like the design. I just think it's quite lazy. It just doesn't speak to me at all. So even if I enjoyed the film, I wouldn't pick up the steelbook. I would probably look to get the Amaray or maybe a digibook if there was one produced, or a digipack or something like this. However, I think if there are collectors that are just steelbook collectors that would, regardless of whether they really like the film or the design doesn't really sort of speak to them, they will still pick it up. And I've seen, or I've even seen people pick up the steelbook, but they haven't even watched the film.
Yes. Yeah.
So
that
again,
drives
that
into
sort of thing.
That drives back into the pre-order nature of this thing. You're you know, Fall Guy again just come out cinemas Friday, just gone, or Thursday, whatever day it was, and you know, within 24 hours, bam, you got a steelbook up. How many people haven't been to see it or not going to see it in that time frame, and they've pre-ordered the steelbook? I said I haven't seen it. I've pre-ordered the steelbook, but I know that I'll see the film prior to that steelbook release. I know that that'll be the case. When, I don't know, but I will. So yeah, I agree. I didn't mind. I don't mind the Madam Web design on the steelbook. To be honest. I think I need to give the film a second watch though to appraise it again. It may have been that I've gone in and thought, you know, is it as bad as what people say, and not thinking so. But then on a second watch, I'll be like, actually, it is bad, and then I'll cancel it. But no, I mean, I've stepped away from this sort of, you know, I've got all the Marvel films. I've got all the Marvel stuff on steelbook. Okay. To date, multiple steelbooks as well for some, with the exception of the Marvels. I didn't pick up the Marvel steelbook. I didn't like the design, hated it, and I have picked up the 4K Amaray using a voucher in CEX, brand new copy, you know, with slip cover, not a mark on it. I went, I've got it with a voucher. Now I paid less, I paid 20, which is over the odds, but I had these vouchers from spending the stuff, but from selling the stuff from my cullet, a lot of the stuff from my cullet. So it didn't really cost me anything per se, cash wise. I wouldn't have paid that much for it. I did want it as a sort of comic book completist. But I certainly weren't going to buy the steelbooks. I thought it was hideous art. And even though it's, you know, I've gone from having all steelbooks for everything prior to now not, it doesn't bother me at all. Do you know what I mean? Because the film wasn't very good.
No, I didn't enjoy it.
And that completist nature of collecting is still a bad habit. It's still a habit that I feel like I can break, but can't. In some cases I can break, but in others not. Ghostbusters, not Afterlife, Frozen Empire, I certainly not going to pick it up around the release at all. Not going to get the steelbook. And like I said to you prior to this, if I ever decide to pick that film up as a part of the franchise, to complete the franchise, it's going to be when I can go into CEX and they've got it there for like £3.
Yeah, and it's like you say, it's just the completionist in you because of your comic book background. You know, you've always collected comics. You're a big,
Yes.
you know, comic book collector. Well, love the comic book genre. You know, I can understand that you know you would like to have a complete collection of all comic book films that have been produced.
Yeah,
For
I'm
me,
pretty sure there's
I'm
one or
very
two that I may not have, but yeah.
I'm very similar to you in that regard. That, you know, not that I'm a comic book reader. I mean, yeah, when I was a kid, I remember reading comic books, but um, I've certainly, as I've got older, I've followed all the comic book versions of films, sort of back in the early 2000s with the X-Men and all the rest of it, and it's all carried on. Um, but again, like take the DC universe. For me, I've collected all of the excuse me, the DCEU apart from the two
Mm.
Shazam films, just because that character it just didn't do anything for me. I watched the first film. I haven't even seen the second one. But yeah, it's just I can have my collection of DC without that film or without those two films, without that character, because it just doesn't appeal. But I know for yourself, you would probably feel you still need those films in your collection because you want to complete that DC universe that
Yeah,
was
well,
created.
but I mean, the first Shazam I really liked. I like Zachary Levi or Levy, however you want to pronounce his name. I like Zachary Levy. I know him from TV series Chuck that he done for 5 years.
Right.
Very watchable in that. I thought he was a great choice to play Shazam, a sort of left field choice.
Yeah.
Shazam as a character, I've got a lot of familiarity with from the comics. Just to let you know, Shazam wasn't originally a DC character. He was a character created. He's almost as old as Superman. I can't remember the year he came about in, but he was a byproduct of Superman by them copying Superman. And interestingly, Shazam could actually fly before Superman could fly.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he had that ability before Superman. Because you remember Superman when he first came, it was just leaping tall buildings.
Yeah.
Wasn't flying. I'm just going to go off on a tangent here. So when Superman goes into the public domain, right, and I'm talking about it would be the very first iteration of Superman before. Yeah, and that's what people don't understand when these things go into the public domain. It will be that first iteration of Superman that you see in Action Comics issue 1. That character there when it goes in the public domain. So if someone goes and makes a Superman film with that character, the S would have to be similar to that. He wouldn't have the ability to fly. He wouldn't be able to use the powers that he didn't have at the time. Supporting cast wouldn't be allowed to be included and all things like that. That's how that sort of thing works.
Yeah.
If Krypton wasn't mentioned and was a later product, I know some of this came from the radio shows and things like that. It wouldn't be allowed. There'd be stuff that wouldn't be allowed to be used. But anyway, I digress. But Shazam was a character that wasn't originally a DC character. It was bought by DC, and originally his name was Captain Marvel. His name was Captain Marvel, and then changed to Shazam because of the Marvel side of things. So I know that you don't feel the character's too much of a fit within the DC universe, and that might be why. That might be why you feel that, because
possibly, yeah,
he wasn't. But some of it's the comics. I remember Jerry Ordway doing he's called Jerry Ordway doing a comic. He was very much a Superman person. Very good hardback book that I've got, Shazam, things like that. You know what I mean? So I've got that familiarity with the character, like actor, and that. The second film weren't great, no, but the first one was better. Yeah, but yeah, it's subjective nature of film, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, we're talking. We've gone off on a tangent.
We have gone. Yeah.
Let's divert back onto the subject matter at hand.
Feeding the addiction. Yeah. I mean, again, I guess I do post pictures on Instagram, and I'm guessing there's a kind of, again, a different sort of influence on there. It's more, I know you can do videos, but I haven't done that. But it's more sort of images, isn't it? So again, for collectors, going on there, oh, I've not seen that edition before. I wasn't aware of this. Let me go and hunt it out. So there's that.
While you talk, carry on talking. But while you're talking, I'm going to shift my seat because I'm aware of the sun coming through the skylight there.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to switch to the other side. So carry on. I can hear you.
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
I can hear what you're saying. Go on.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and I think we are influenced by certainly by what we see on Instagram. Again, a different kind of visual forum, and like I say, with Facebook, I've not really. I don't particularly want to get into Facebook in a big way, but I guess you've got a lot of, because you've said yourself, you've got there are groups on there that are dedicated to certain movies, so they'll be promoting all the different editions of a certain movie, say Blade Runner or Star Trek films, or
you have your individual groups, but I think that in them the physical release, media release, is a very minute part of. I am a member of some groups like Jaws and some Marvel comics, and Blade Runner is one that I'm in as well, just because I had videos going into it at one point. RoboCop, but it's very little that you see physical media wise on there. It's more other stuff, So it's them groups are more broad. They're everything to do with that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. So it's sort of all about the world and figures and
everything, comics, whatever it may be, and people posting different pictures from the films, that sort of a thing, rather than the odd. You'll get the odd physical media post. Normally from try and see if you grow your audience there. But yes, it's so. What about yourself? How influenced are you? Because I've spoken about how influenced I've been by things. What about yourself? What do you? If you hold a mirror up to yourself, what can you say about your habits before having a channel? Then starting your channel, because obviously you were collecting before you had a channel. You then started your channel because you had a collection of stuff and you were buying things as well at the same time. So what are your experiences? What do you feel? Was you influenced by watching the channels at first? Do you feel there was a change? Just go from you collecting before, because obviously you collected before YouTube, or before you was watching YouTube channels, probably, I'm guessing. Then you had a step into the YouTube channels. Was there a change then? And then creating your own channel, was there a change then? Was there an influence that you've seen through those sort of those stepping stones of history for you?
Yeah, okay. So for me, I mean, obviously, I collected VHS. I wasn't a huge collector of VHS. I can remember, one of my videos was all about the Abyss Collector's Edition VHS, which was really the one that really sort of started this whole journey, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I've actually managed to pick that one up in the end. So yeah, I did buy a VHS before the days of the internet. I didn't.
In those days, there was no influence.
No,
there was no influence on what you bought. You bought what you liked. You want, what you liked. Same as me.
Going into the shop and seeing these editions on the shelf.
Yes, that's right. You weren't driven by social media, because obviously it didn't exist then. You weren't driven really by other people, I'm assuming, because even for me collecting back then, I I don't want to use the word competing. I had no one around me who was collecting physical media.
No.
You know, you had people that bought, you know, a few VHS tapes, but not to the extent that like what I did, because I was heavily into my films back then as well. It was one thing I was heavily into. I think a lot of that stems from, you know, my mother dying, you know, when I was sort of mid-teens, and the sort of escapism nature of movie and TV is very much. I mean, I can sort of pinpoint that as even though I enjoyed film before that, I can pinpoint that as a complete dive in to other worlds, so to speak, to break away from this one. There's almost a lot of psychological scarring going on there somewhere because of that. But yeah, so the influence didn't exist for you, did it, at that stage?
No. I mean, just thinking about it, I think possibly certainly within the magazines that used to come out. I mean, it was quite. Do you remember DVD Monthly? Do you remember that magazine back in the sort of 90s?
Yeah,
I used to love that.
Buy
I used to love that magazine. Used to buy it fairly regularly. Now, strangely enough, I wasn't a big DVD collector. I didn't buy that many, possibly because I wasn't on a lot of money back then. Didn't have, you know, much disposable income. But I do remember loving the magazine because it would show you those limited editions that were available at the time. And you know, going through this magazine and only dreaming and thinking, oh wow, you know, this looks great, you know, and then seeing the price at like 25 quid back then, thinking, wow, that's, you know, quite a lot of money. So I guess for me that was probably a kind of influence, but again, you were limited by going into a physical shop.
Yes.
Where you lived. Was it in stock? You know, you couldn't just go onto a website and, you know, get it from anywhere in the world like you can now.
It's funny when you say about DVD. We'll keep on. You know, we'll finish. Let me just interject with my.
Carry on.
Because with you talking about the influences, it's kind of come to. I was influenced during DVD era. Now, I wasn't influenced by people. I wasn't influenced by magazine. I wasn't influenced by channel or anything like this. But being in London, I used to go up to a shop in London called the Cinema Store. It's not there anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. It used to have 2 locations. It was very small at first, and then it moved. I can forget the name of the road it was on, but it might be Bloomsbury Avenue or something like that. It weren't far from the Forbidden Planet, where Forbidden Planet sits now. You've got the 5 dials, and it's down from the 5 dials. But anyway, I digress again. So I used to go into this shop and go downstairs into this shop, and they had imports. They had imports from the United States. So I'd go in there and I'd look on a weekly basis at what they've got, and then they'd have films that hadn't even been out in the cinema in this country yet, right? Because you still had that in a lot of cases you still had that American release far before the UK release kind of situation that we used to have. So I'd go in there and it'd be like, Christ, they've got this film, it's not even out in this country yet, I've not seen it, but I'm going to buy it. I'm going to blind buy this at some stupid price. I can't remember the prices now. Because I've got it before it's even out, and I've seen it before anyone else in this country, kind of a situation going on, right? But then in hindsight, now looking back at that, I'm kind of thinking, who was I impressing? Who was I impressing with that but myself? Because I wasn't online. It ain't like this social media, and I'm going to you, oh, look, I've already got the full guy because times are the same. But you know what I'm saying to you?
I know what you mean.
I've already got this, and it's not even out in this country yet. And look, I've got it. Situation. Who was I kidding but myself? But a lot of that was driven also by that negative mental health that I spoke about. because I've suffered for a long time, and I would spend back then to bring myself back up, and credit card came into play and this sort of thing. I really didn't care. I didn't give a toss. Do you know what I mean? So it's very, very, very bad for me, bad time in that sense. But in hindsight, you got these films that I was blind buying, and that's why I don't, for the most part, I don't blind buy. I will blind buy if it's something like a TV series that latest season I haven't seen, got around to watching, but I know that I've collected and watched the rest. I'll blind buy the next season, because I know, I know what I'm getting essentially, because I followed it all this time. But I certainly don't often blind buy now. It's something I don't get involved in. I learned my lesson with that one. But I would blind buy in CEX cheaply, because I'd justify it in the sense that I'm paying, VHS rental price 30 years ago. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's that. But and that's when I end up with all this tap. So anyway, sorry. So we got on to you. You're in the DVD days.
We're in the DVD days.
You little bit influenced by the DVD monthly
by magazines. I guess that was really our only way of seeing stuff that was being released, because we just didn't have the internet. It hadn't even been invented. So my DVD collecting back then wasn't very, very big. Didn't collect. I probably actually collected more DVDs in the last couple of years than I've ever done, because how cheap they are. But yeah, I mean, moving forward, obviously, Blu-ray was kind of interesting, because it obviously was HD. The internet had just about started to get going by that point. I mean, what was it, 2006, I think, was the Blu-ray started around that time, 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
Get exact date, but
that'd be about right, because you had Iron Man 2008. And it was I remember that as a Blu-ray.
Yeah, and I think around that time, YouTube was still very much in its infancy, and I followed a lot of channels. I used to watch. I mean, one of the ones who's still going today is Dan's Man Cave. I mean, back then he was forget the name of his channel, Autumn Productions. That was it. And I used to watch him, and I never commented back then. I watched for years, and I've seen all these people collecting Steelbooks. I mean, that was the time of Marvel, all the Marvel Steelbooks, and I probably was quite influenced by those collectors. And then obviously through that time, all the online. I mean, very much back then, still had a lot of the physical stores.
But do you see that? Do you see that influence? Do you see any? Was it a positive influence? Was it a negative influence? Do you see a positive side of it? Do you see a negative side of it? Are there any highlights like that for you? Anything that you can say? Yeah, it was good for the reason, but this was a negative of it. That kind of thing.
I think there were points at times where I felt maybe I was getting a bit carried away with pre-ordering things, almost getting sort of sucked into it and sort of thinking, oh, wow, this is coming out, that's coming out. I need to pre-order it, because that fear of missing out. At the time, Zavvi heavily influenced, they flooded the market with steelbooks. Before that time, I mean, before Zavvi came along, my main two places for buying physical media was HMV. There was a Zavvi store. They did have physical stores at one point. There was the Virgin Mega store as well. Remember them?
Yeah. Well, in Piccadilly Circus, there was a Virgin Megastore that then became Zavvi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there was one there was a, where the Primark is on the corner of Oxford Street and Tottenham Court Road, that was a that was a Virgin at one point. They had a comic book store inside as well. Virgin had
You
their
had
own
Tower Records as well, didn't you?
Yes, Tower Records was down by thingy as well. Piccadilly Circus, or was it Tower Records that became the Zavvi down there? I can't remember. I think a lot of Virgins became Zavvi.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I do remember when Zavvi had their store. Yes.
Yeah, that was even before the website came along. So, and then there was another store. I don't know whether you ever had them. MVC. Do you ever remember MVC?
No, I remember Our Price.
Yeah, Our Price. Yeah,
I remember that.
There was a store. That outlet place I took you to, that Serpentine Green, where we went to that CX.
Yeah.
When you came up, in that, almost opposite that store, funny enough, was the MVC store. And again, it was they had stores up and down the country, but they did exclusives. I've still got one of theirs, which is the Resident Evil MVC exclusive. Still got that in my collection. But yeah, you know, I would go around the various shops, the HMV, the Virgin Megastore, Our Price, MVC, and then Zavvi. You also had Play.com. You remember Play.com?
Yeah, I never really used them, but yeah, I remember.
Oh, yeah. Again, they did the exclusives as well. So like the Iron Man, I'm sure that was a Play.com exclusive. The Tron Cube that I've got, that was a Play.com exclusive. I didn't buy that on there, but I picked that up years later on eBay. And the Avatar big box set that I've got, that was a Play.com exclusive as well.
Yeah, I never focused on that stuff, and I think that's because of the influence of the cinema store up in London with the new releases.
Yeah.
So a lot of films I would actually have on a Region 1. Are we talking Blu-ray or DVD here?
Both. I mean, it started off as DVD, but certainly the DVD for Iron Man, I've still got it. Still got the Play.com. You remember Future Shop? They did that Iron Man with the blue banner at the top, and that was like the holy grail back in the sort of 2008. It used to go for silly money, 200 or 300 quid. I saw it for sometimes on eBay.
Yeah, see, like I said, that goes back to me saying that I went to Steelbooks at that point. Because, like I said, I remember the Captain America Steelbook and then not liking it because it didn't match on the shelf. It didn't match the Amaranth.
Yeah.
I sold it on. So at that point, I still wasn't Steelbooks. I wouldn't say I started by getting into Steelbooks. That was before YouTube. I don't know what the turnaround was for the Steelbooks. I can't recall.
No.
But I do remember buying 4K Steelbooks prior to getting 4K. Because obviously the 4K Steelbooks had the Blu-ray in as well, and it wasn't a case of I'm buying them to kind of future-proof, because I never had any intent of stepping into 4K. It was more a case of I really like that Steelbook, so I'll buy it even though I can't play the 4K disc. I'm happy with the Blu-ray playable. Do you know what I mean? I will buy the Steelbook. So there's
but no, I collected DVD Steelbooks, and I've still got a few of them. Not that many, but yeah. And then it moved into Blu-ray, and then, like I say, with Blu-ray, what they used to do is they included the DVD in there. So started to collect those, and then we got to 2009. Avatar came out, and then we got the 3D explosion. Everything was being made in 3D, and of course, I like the format. I enjoy 3D, so I was then picking up 3D editions and Blu-ray editions and combining them as I do with my little, you know, what I call a hybrid edition, combining things.
Which I've done a few times now because of you.
Yeah.
The influence there.
Yeah, but again,
I've bought boxes because of you. You know, the empty Film Arena boxes. I bought two empty Film Arena boxes and filled them with, as I've, you know, yes. The pink one's very nice.
Yeah.
The Barbie one. Yes, I bought the Barbie one. And I feel I had, you know, like I said, I got Barbie stuff to put in it and I filled it. One of them is the Film Arena edition or whatever it's. Is it Mantle Lab? No, Mantle Lab. Is it Mantle Lab, isn't it? Whatever they're called. Yeah, and then the other's standard Steelbook, and that released with the CD soundtrack, thick release with the slip that comes off. It's got the Amaray in, it's got CD soundtrack, it's got DVD and art cards and a booklet in, I don't know. But I filled it to the brim with that stuff. But so that's an influence there from you to me. Yeah.
But you see, I mean, for some people, they would kind of think, well, no, I couldn't do that. You know, it's got to be the original edition, you know, and then there are some of these sets, again, that you see, certainly the Film Arena ones, there's like 3 editions or 4 editions within one set. Yes. Now, for me, I don't know. I think that's kind of like a bit over the top, a little bit kind of overkill. Do you need 3 4K editions all with different slips?
But I bought the flash box, the Film Arena flash box, and I have each of the 3 Film Arena editions. One of them lacks the art cards and that sort of thing, and I sold the Steelbook on from it, and the money that I sold that Steelbook for bought me one of the different Steelbooks to put into it. So I've got a different Steelbook in that one, because I didn't feel the need to have the same Steelbook.
Yeah.
But I've bought all 3 of those editions separately at different times, and I bought the box and combined it all into the box.
Yeah.
But it's funny because the influence then, because this is what you're saying. Let's talk about hybrid editions, right? Because somewhere along the line, you've been, you know, you've had your own idea, whether it's an influence from somewhere or not, whether it's your own idea, but I've been influenced by you to create these kind of hybrid editions. You know,
they speak to you as a, you know, it's individual to you, isn't it? You're not necessarily.
Yes, that's right. And when I go back to the Crow, the reason I ordered both copies of the Crow is because, and it's so stupid, it's because the Zavvi one had art cards and a poster in. So I ordered the other one because I prefer the other artwork.
Yeah.
But I want the poster and I want those additional little bits to put into that one.
Yeah.
That as a complete, you know, a sort of, you know, because I feel that I'm lacking by missing some art cards, and that's crazy, right? So that influences, but not only that, talking about the hybrid editions, the companies have I know one case at least of a company trying to influence you to create a hybrid edition, and that is for Chucky season 1.
Yeah.
Right. So they released Chucky season 1.
Yeah.
As you know, in that lenticular box with the art cards or booklet, whatever it is, right? And they released a standard edition, just a standard edition. So you bought that. Then they released a Steelbook a little while later, right? They weren't released at the same time. No, season 2 was released at the same time, but season 1 was released separately. A couple of months between that and the Steelbook. And on the listing for the Steelbook, it said, combine this with your other one to make the ultimate kind of set, which I did. And I sold on the standard Amaray. And then when season 2 of Chucky came, I ordered that, and I ordered the Steelbook, and I've done the same. Sold on the Amaray. But that influence there is external to, you're actually being influenced into, you know, do I want to say it's a bad habit? bad way of collecting, but you're being influenced into multiple buy-ins by being introduced to the concept of a combination, to a hybrid edition.
Yeah.
You can have that with a Steelbook in if you buy the Steelbook separately. That's quite bad, really. That's quite bad.
That feeds back into what you're saying, and obviously you've done it with the Crow. You know, you bought 2 editions, one with the art cards and the poster, and one because the artwork appeals to you. So you're combining the 2, but then actually you want to, and I'm sure you'll be able to do it, you'll get your money back for the edition that you're not bothered about.
No, that's right.
So you've actually kind of got what you want for the price that you would have paid in the first place, if that makes sense.
Yes, and as you know, even if I don't sell that edition on eBay, I've got another way of going about getting my money back.
Yeah.
All sorted. So in the end, I have only paid for one item.
Now, strangely enough, but they're out of stock. Amazon Italy actually produced the
that Steelbook
version that you want with the poster and the art cards.
Yeah,
so
I know.
They're all out of stock now.
I did look. See, I would have, if I'd known that, I would have taken that option. But
yeah,
hindsight.
But the other thing again, and that might bother some people, is the fact that the J card won't be in English; it'll be in Italian, and people want the J card with the English text.
Oh, mamma mia!
There are collectors that's very important to them, and again, I mean, it all comes down to, and you've seen it on eBay, these people selling, the professional sellers are showing like minute little tears and, imperfections on these editions because some collectors are that OCD about it that it's got to be perfect in every shape and form. I mean, it's crazy because there's going to be a minor imperfection, whatever it is.
Yes. I think they're probably just covering themselves. They're covering themselves.
Of course they are, yeah.
Because you come back and say, oh, there's a little like on the corner of that slip. There's a little, where it's pushed in a bit and wrinkled. There's a little bit there that's, I want my money back. I want a refund because it's not perfect.
I know, yeah. But you see, again, I've got certainly with DVD editions and some of these sort of limited editions. Again, back in the day, they would have gone, been quite expensive to pick up, and I'm picking them up for a couple of quid now. But I actually quite like the process of, certainly if they're black, slip boxes, but they've got shelfware. I'll go in with a little little
Sharpie
pen, little Sharpie, and just touch them up. Yeah, it actually makes them look a bit better.
yeah. If it works, then you know what I mean.
And it's just things like that I think I even did a video on it once, just saying, this is what I do, and I've done a video on like other people have done it on, protection. The different. I mean, there are companies that produce
ribbed for her pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, are we influencing people? I mean, in some ways, we might be helping these companies and saying, well, I use this particular company, and you're almost sort of promoting these companies.
Yeah, that's a positive. That's a positive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I did a little video where it's like, use lighter fluid to clean, get off your stickers.
Yeah. CEX stickers.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? That's an influence in itself. Positive.
Yeah.
But so what's your biggest negative influence? Because you've not really touched upon anything that I deem as being overly negative in your journey through. So did you find? Okay, so go back to this. You created your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Okay. Did you then feel any pressure whatsoever to buy for the channel or anything like that? Any negatives that come from that?
I think because certainly for the charity shop ones, videos. They seem to be quite popular.
Yeah.
And I did feel there were a couple of occasions where I'd gone to charity shops and I was just picking up stuff, yeah, possibly for the channel. Not
Yeah.
many times, but
But
and
yeah.
I think I made a conscious decision then to actually think, no, I need to stop doing. I seem to be thinking, oh, I need to go to the charity shop to pick some stuff up because this is a good video.
Yeah.
So
I think
yeah,
it's I think it's fair to say that the negative impact of that wasn't necessarily wholly financial, because
no,
you're talking, not a lot of money. Similar to
no,
me, if you pound land and the DVD Blu-rays at £1 or £2, or they've dropped to £1 in when they did impound land and picking them up because they're
yeah,
losing them all. Not an overly large financial output, but it impacts on the fact that you're ending up with a massive amount of stuff that you haven't watched.
yeah,
Number one. The space issue, you're being taken up by an element of stuff that, well, you haven't watched. Number one, you might not even ever get around to watching.
no, and it's
And
just
then you
sat in a
might
box.
then you
Yeah,
might not enjoy it anyway.
and
And
then
then
I do think I need to, yeah, I need to sort of get to really delving into some of these films and watching them and then thinking, look, do I want to keep this? Very much like you've done, this culling sort of thing. Do I need to keep this? Am I going to watch this again? No. Okay, let's donate it back to a charity shop, or
it's
it's not
funny
going to get
because
nothing
this
silly.
comes from an influence. This my culling
Oh
comes
yeah, I've seen other people doing it now.
yeah, it comes. See, there you go. They get an influence spreading
Yeah,
outwards. But my
yeah,
culling actually was influenced by myself,
yeah,
right? And point myself to being an influence to it, and also other people in the comments. So I'm not being influenced by videos, by seeing other people's videos and what people are buying, right? What the culling came about because of my Desert Island discs.
mm,
So, as opposed to saying, oh, I'm going to do a shelf by shelf look at my collection. Oh, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. I've done my Desert Island disc videos, which is still ongoing. Everyone that ain't see them, so go and check them out. Little plug there. No, but it's a shelf by shelf, and I've forced myself into looking at that shelf and thinking as I go through the shelf, what film would I take with me if I were stranded on desert island? What's that one film on this shelf? So it's automatically I'm in this mindset of picking a worthy film over others. And while doing that, you start saying, well, I've got this. I haven't actually seen it, so I can't include it. I've got this. Not a very good film. Do you know what I mean? I've got
yeah,
and sometimes it got to the point at the end of the shelf, and I say, do you know what, that shelf is filled with there's loads of rubbish on that shelf,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
Nothing even worthy of thinking about. And then at the same time, I had other people saying to me, you got a load of crap in your collection. You're right, I have. I've said that myself. And that in turn has then influenced me. That plus the sort of, oh, I'm running out of space situation has then influenced me to say, well, let's start looking at culling some of this stuff and see what I don't actually need and see whether that's a worthwhile thing. Now, when I first started doing it, I started putting this stuff to one side, right? And it proved difficult. It proved difficult in the sense that I'm putting it to one side, but I've not actually done anything with it. So am I going to do anything with it? Even that was in the back of my mind. It's okay me taking them off the shelf and saying, I don't really want this. I don't really want this. But to actually physically get rid of it is another thing. Is that going to happen? Or am I going to backtrack on a lot of this stuff? And I'm happy to report that at this juncture, I've finished the culling all the shelves. Okay, the videos take me up to October. And I have gone through how much they're worth. I've traded into CEX. I've sold stuff on eBay. I have given some stuff to people like yourself and Chris, and I've sent stuff out to other people as well who have wanted a few bits. That sort of thing has been done. And I think that I'll be honest, that there were a couple of films that I did save. I did say, okay, I might keep that at least until I watch it again. But I can count on one hand how many films that was. Right, and bear in mind, I'm pulling off about 12, 13 films per shelf. There's probably about 9 on 30 shelves worth of stuff, and I've kept 5 titles, which, you know what I mean?
Good,
and a lot of others, I've still sat with stuff, ones that are worth literally nothing, that I'm waiting on to see what I do. But my point is that influence came externally by other people. It came from a realization within myself after in the progress of doing these videos of the Desert Discs, and it's kind of like a natural progression of doing one thing leading me into another, influenced by myself and influenced by comments from the lovely viewers.
And I remember you saying you've actually felt quite liberated by the whole experience, and it's sort of helped up here as well a little bit to sort of remove a bit of that clutter maybe that was, you know, because these things sort of play on your mind, don't they? You think, well, why have I got all this stuff, you know, sometimes.
And another influence of that is, like what I've said earlier, is now I will buy something. Crow as an example. I've got the Crow Steelbook. I don't need that Amaray version anymore. I'm going to get rid of that Amaray version. So I'm not building up a multiple, you know, I'm not saying I don't have multiples of films, other films. I do indeed. But every time that I buy something new that's an upgrade of something that I've got, I'm looking at that other edition and I'm saying, do I want it? Do I need it? Should I keep it? Yes or no? As you know, Blue Beetle, the same one as what you got, the Manta Lab, Blue Beetle, and I had that other Steelbook, which I like. It's a nice Steelbook. I'm not going to deny it's not nice. I like, but as you know, that one I gifted. I could have sold that for it was going on eBay for like 44 quid or something stupid like that. I think your Beetle one, I sent you like that sort of price as well.
But I like that. You see, now I don't want to get rid of that because I like that design. But I do like that Manta Lab as well.
If you want to sell it, you could to
I know. I do. I mean, there's probably a bit of sort of part of it that because you sent it to me, it's kind of like you know,
I get
a gift from you.
I wouldn't have thought any less of you if you know.
I
said to you, if you want to get rid of it. Help you fund that one. And I knew that that other Blue Beetle Steelbook. I knew that Chris really loved the film more so than me. He's bought the character as well. You know, Cypher Sigma screen time, Chris. This is for anyone watching. And I thought, you know what? He missed out on that Steelbook. I know he'd love the Steelbook, right? It's money that's gone. I could sell it and make a bit of money, but it makes me happier to gift it over to someone I can call a friend and make him happy and give him something that he wanted and missed out on. You know, and I felt far more. I felt that made me feel good. In a sense, doing that made me feel it better than what 40 quid in the bank would have. Which I didn't.
And I think that's the wonderful thing about, you know, often we do sort of focus on the negatives of social media, but there's actually a lot of positives to it as well. You know, that you know, we became friends, and you know, it gives us again these kind of conversations. I think are good because. Again, if we was out without the internet and you're collecting on your own, a lot of this stuff's just going off in your own mind. You haven't really got anyone to sort of talk to about it because they're not really interested in it.
That's right.
I think, you know, YouTube brings people together that have got a common interest. You know, I've heard it many times. People say, well, you know, my group of friends, they're not interested in films. Well, you know, apart from watching them on the TV, they're not interested in collector's editions and 4Ks, 3D, all the rest of it.
Yeah, and I know there is a, like you said, the positive of the friendship side of things. So, you know, me, you and Chris very much sort of come together in that kind of respect, that regard. But it's not only that, it's, you know, the positive of the people that that watch, that comment.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, because you have your regular commenters and you get into discussions with them. And some of these people, you know, I do speak to externally from you know, YouTube.
YouTube,
I
yeah,
speak to them through like Instagram or whatever, stuff like that.
yeah.
I've met up with one of my commenters, Richard, who probably, I don't know what his handle is. I can't remember his handle online, but he probably, I know he watches your channel and things like this. He was in the area. He lives in Ireland actually, and he came over, and I met him in Bromley. Just went out, you know, for a cup of coffee and whatnot, and that sort of thing. And
yeah,
and you know, it's that sort of thing. It's great. It's great to be able to, you know, and that's another thing. Well, I said to him, I goes, "Oh, do you want any of these? You know, do you want any of these films? I don't want nothing for them. They're from the culling. Let me know what you want. I'll bring it along." And he got rid of a little bag of stuff there, you know.
Yeah. But I would also say as well that your, you know, your journey of this sort of culling, you know, stuff from your collection, has probably helped other people that are probably in a similar position. They probably don't have a YouTube channel, and they probably just watch. They might not even comment, but they actually think, oh, I can relate to him. You know, I can relate to this. This is what's going on in my mind. You know, I've got all this stuff, and I need to get rid of it. And this guy's doing what I've been thinking about, but actually I'm seeing him do it. So that actually kind of influences and sort of helps me to get to where I need to be.
It's funny, right? Because it's not only that I realised now, and I had this conversation with Phil with double L, yesterday.
Another great channel, yeah.
Yeah, because I saw him doing his culling video where he was putting this stuff together to make that money for his editing software that he wanted.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he culled was the Alfred Hitchcock collection.
Right.
And I said to him, I said, it's funny that you should pull that and sell that. I goes, because, or want to, you know, talk about selling that. I goes, because I've recently sold that collection on eBay. Right. Now, when I'd done my culling, when I'd done that shelf, Alfred Hitchcock collection was one I said, no, I'll keep that. It's Alfred Hitchcock after all. Right. And then I sold it before Phil's, and it was interesting because me and Phil had the same take on this sort of a thing, exactly the same. I came to realize that, okay, I've got the Alfred Hitchcock collection, right? No doubt masterpieces in their own right, these films, right?
Yeah.
But I'm never going to watch them.
No.
I would much rather, and Phil said it, he said it himself, I'd much rather put on a Michael Bay film than watch an Alfred Hitchcock film, right? And I was like, I totally get where you're coming from. I goes, why have I bought, right, the Alfred Hitchcock collection, right? The reason, and this is a sudden realization, right? I'm a film buff. I'm a film fan. So I've got the Alfred Hitchcock collection because I feel that it needs to be in the collection rather than films that I will actually watch and rewatch. Now, I've seen the films, I've enjoyed the films, but I'm never going to rewatch them again. It's not going to, right? So I'm not taking away from the importance of the films. I don't want to take away from the significance of them, from the masterpiece nature of what someone like Alfred Hitchcock done, because I see it, I believe it. I you know, it's about being true to yourself, right? I don't need those films to justify me as a collector,
no,
or as a film buff. But that's kind of mindset that some of these films, I've got this film because I feel it needs to be in the collection. Another one that I've got is Fritz Lang's Metropolis, you know, the old sci-fi German film. I picked that up. I felt, you know, I've seen it. It's a classic film. It's at the advent of cinema. It's, do you know what I mean? It's important. It's, do you know what I mean? It's got that significance to, so it should be. No, it shouldn't be in my damn collection, because you know what? I'm not going to sit down and I'm not going to watch it again.
No, No.
Right. So why do I need those films to justify me, to make me feel justified as a film collector?
Yeah, you don't really.
You know what I'm
Like I
saying?
say, yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy, really.
You need
And
to collect for yourself rather than
yeah,
collecting because you feel you should do it
yeah, that I
or
should
have
have
that in
film.
your collection
I should
because
have these films in my collection because of their significance to cinema. So
yeah,
not that kind of, that's nonsensical collecting.
yeah,
Right, honestly, that is nonsensical collecting because I'm not going to watch them. They're just there to say, "Oh look, oh I've got Alfred Hitchcock. Oh, I feel like I'm a oh yeah." Do you know what I mean? I'm a proper film buff because I've
yeah.
got Alfred Hitchcock.
It's rather
Like I said,
go
I'm
to
not taking
somebody that
away. Yeah,
does love those films and they
yeah.
have a connection with them and they want to I mean, yeah, I guess there is the thing that you want to make sure that these films are preserved for future generations to enjoy because I'm sure there will be people that discover them in the future
No, I'm sure, but
who've
like I
never
said,
watched them before and think, oh, these are, fantastic. I love these films and I want to have them in my collection.
but
Um,
the preservation of films isn't down to you.
no,
It's not
no,
down
it
to
isn't.
me, right?
No,
And that's another realization that I had. Why am I saying, oh, preserve film, preserve? Yes, I agree with preserving film. I disagree with, the nature of streaming and let's make edits to films and all this. I totally disagree with that stuff, right?
yeah, yeah,
But it's not my job to preserve these films. It's
no,
not your job to preserve these films. As a collective of people, they can be preserved amongst ourselves because you've got stuff that I haven't got. I've got stuff that you haven't got.
yeah,
I've had people say in my comments of Cullen, oh, I would keep everything because you don't know when it's going to be pulled from streaming. To be honest, I couldn't give a toss when it's going to be pulled from streaming. If I don't like the film, I'm not going to rewatch it.
no,
So what am I keeping it?
absolutely.
Because it might one day be pulled from streaming.
Yeah,
Couldn't care less.
no,
And then I have had other people say to me, "Why are you getting rid of that film? You're getting rid of that film, yet you're keeping this film." And that goes back to the rewatchability, right? This is what I'm saying. Okay, see you later, Alfred Hitchcock, Michael Bay's Transformers films. I'll keep them. Okay, it's night and day in these films are significant. I'm not talking about Michael Bay, I'm talking about Alfred Hitchcock. They're significant to cinema. They're
yeah,
significant movies, significant filmmaker. Michael Bay, over the top mayhem, nonsensical nonsense. I'll sit down and I'll watch nonsensical nonsense.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's this yeah, and this is just stuff that I've sort of learned about myself going through this process and this journey, and yeah, it's crazy, and I've not looked at it like that. Like I said, Fritz Lang's Metropolis, Alfred Hitchcock. How many other films? Because they're just Alfred Hitchcock I've already got rid of. I've still got Fritz Lang's Metropolis up there. But how many other films have I got? I could go through them shelves and say, I've got that for reasons of significance to cinema rather than for myself.
Mm.
I'm sure it ain't going to be a lot, but I'm pretty sure that there are some there that's certainly the case with. I'm thinking, my mind goes to the original King Kong. The original stop motion King Kong film. Great film. Great film. Not going to knock it, right? But honestly, am I going to watch that, or am I going to watch a
Peter Jackson
on something like that? Do you know what I mean? I'd be watching it not because I want to watch it, but because I feel a significance to it.
Yeah.
Whereas I get more fun out of maybe Peter Jackson's one. See what I mean? Is that kind of a thing? I'm on the cards about King Kong. I'll be honest. I'm on the cards about it. I'm not saying yay or nay to that one, but it's one that I'd have to process and consider. But those are the sort of films that I'm saying, the sort of significance.
Yeah. I mean, there is a
shaped cinema.
There is maybe a sense of guilt that maybe does come into it, that you do think, well, these are films of the past, you don't want them to be lost to future generations. But like you say, it's not your responsibility to, carry that legacy on. Really, it's for people that do love those films, and they should pass that on, hopefully, to their children.
Yeah, this is the thing. Who am I passing it on to? Who am I? Keeping this stuff for? I'm not, because let's be honest. If I was to drop dead tomorrow, my collection would be sold off.
Yeah,
I can't. My kids ain't gonna want it. They might take 1 or 2 films, maybe, but they probably ain't even got players for them.
No.
That's just the way they are. They're not as big into that sort of stuff as me. Yeah, they watch. They watch Star Wars. They watch Disney, new Star Wars series and things like that. They watch The Walking Dead. Even my daughter's into The Walking Dead at the moment. But they're not going to want them on physical media.
No.
To them, it's crap.
It's antiquated.
Right, and people say, "Oh, you should get your kids into it. You should get your kids understanding." That's easier said than done. Kids are a different generation. I can't mold them into what they like and don't like.
No.
I can mold them into being a good person, and which they are, and things like that, and point them in the right direction. But I can't say to them, take physical media with you. You must take physical media. It doesn't work like that. Like that. No. Like you said, it's an antiquated. That's why I rarely get. Till recently, I rarely get gifts that are physical media related, because the antiquated nature of it. That's what they see. That's what they see.
Well, didn't your son pick that Blue Beetle up for you?
Yeah, that's why I said till recently.
Yeah, I mean that's quite nice that he's actually taken the time to think. Okay, well, this probably wouldn't be something that I would pick up, but my dad would appreciate this. So at least
the thinking didn't come from him.
Okay.
There's no thinking on his part. That's my wife overhearing me saying,
okay, right.
That's a really beautiful release. I really like the release. The bit about, I'm not a big fan of the film, probably when but you can hear that bit. Because I've always said that Blue Beetle, that film Marina Blue Beetle was a beautiful release. It is. It's a stunning looking. It's stunning. The Steelbook is stunning. And I said, that's a really nice release. That's a beautiful release.
She's obviously always like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that the influence comes from, in most present buying from the kids, comes from a certain direction. A lot of it comes from me, fed to her, fed to them. So it's like, encourage them to get this. But I didn't do it this time around. She'd done it of her own accord. Yeah.
Cool.
You know what I mean? I think that's only because I saved him. How much I saved him? About 300-400 quid on his car insurance by going down as a named driver.
That's good. So, yeah. So we've been talking for nearly an hour and a half on this one. So there's been a lot to talk about. It's a good subject.
Like I said, the subject, once you get into it, when you start talking about it, you think there might not be too much to talk about, but when you start delving into influences, positive, negative, and like I say, as you talk, you open up these thoughts that you never had. Do you know what I mean? Of influence, because I didn't think I'd be talking about the influence of culling and the sort of how I got influenced myself and influenced by others into that. It just opens up, and branches come out, and
absolutely
good stuff.
But I do think as well that sometimes I see things that I'll give you an example that I've heard you say, and then I've actually seen it on somebody else's video and thought, oh, that's a bit of a coincidence. You mentioned about when you were talking about 4K, and you said, do we need comedies in 4K? Does it make me want to laugh anymore? Now, I've seen a thumbnail again, I'm not going to mention the channel, but it's a bigger channel.
I know, yeah,
and I've seen that very thing. Do we need 4K? Do we need comedies in 4K?
But that's happened a few times over there, hasn't it?
What's that?
That's happened a few times, a few different times. You've pointed me towards things being said that after I kind of thing.
Yeah. So again, I mean, I suppose we all do it. You know, you'll see particular videos that are made about particular subjects that have been discussed by others, and then you've seen it yourself, and actually you then think, oh, actually that's quite a good idea. Why not? Why not? Let's talk about it. So I guess we're all guilty of it.
Well, yeah,
influenced by each other.
No, absolutely. My thingy one was that, wasn't it? My bootleg video with the 2 ticks.
Yes,
that was exactly the same as the one with the crosses, and
yeah,
it was like in response. It was in response. It gave the other side of it. It gave the sort of positives of that bootleg market.
Yeah,
which is actually dying now. It's dying off, I think.
The bootleg market.
Yeah, I think it's peaked. It peaked. It certainly peaked, and it's now on a. From what I can see with my own eyes, it's peaked, and it's now definitely. And that's a lot of that is driven by the fact that obviously Disney are not producing too much Star Wars and Marvel content, and I think a lot of people are just sort of they were hyped for that sort of thing for a little while, and now not.
You know?
And kind of reality slap kind of thing. Although talking about influence, and before we go, it's interesting because does that mean that people are starting to accept the fact that a lot of this stuff isn't coming out physically, and they don't care too much that it's not coming out physically, and that influence of turning to streaming and the acceptance that actually this product isn't getting a physical media release, and not caring anymore. Yes, you still get Marvel and Star Wars stuff, but I don't believe that you're going to get everything. I certainly don't. Star Wars, they don't seem to be dropping like the final seasons of the animated Clone Wars and the Bad Batch. They're just focusing on the live actions. It's interesting that they've bypassed Boba Fett in favour of Obi-Wan and Andor. No Boba Fett release. Not to say that you won't get Boba Fett. I think that probably will. But Marvel have done the same with Moon Knight. They've bypassed Hawkeye. No Hawkeye release. I'm hoping that does come. But also, will Disney go as far as releasing their animated to physical media? What if? Will they release those one-offs? Like Werewolf by Night. And I think there was another one-off, weren't there? Possibly, I can't remember. The Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. Will they release shorter run times? Be interesting to see. But I think people have an acceptance there of streaming over physical.
You see, that's another subject that you could, I suppose, explore. Are we being conditioned, not just us, but society that watches films? Are we being conditioned into an acceptance of digital?
Well, it's exact. I mean, just to say that if you go back and watch some of my older videos about streaming and about bootlegging, I did say that the companies like Disney et al. Are not going to care about bootlegging. I goes, when they decided to hold back on releasing this stuff initially, they because like I said, Disney's plan was never to release this stuff physically, right? They weren't going to release because of what the hits they're taking financially, and they've seen a little opportunity to make a little bit of money. But I've always said that, in these videos, I said that you will only see, they know full well, they've done the math, they've done people looking at it, and what's happened is exactly what I said would happen, is that you will get a growth in your bootlegging to a point, at which point it will then start to decrease. And that's exactly what we're seeing now, that decrease. That's just common knowledge. That's not common knowledge. That's just you know what I mean? That's just, it makes sense that that's what would happen. And that's exactly what is happening. And that's driven by the fact that Disney are finally releasing some of this stuff. Okay, yeah, granted that people will wait, but not only that, the fact that people are just not caring either about it, you know. I mean, for me, most certainly, you know, things like Lost in Space on Netflix, season 1's released on physical media, but no season 2 and 3. So I want those season 2 and 3 on bootleg, and I got them on bootleg. But when you get to a point that you've got a whole series that's not getting a physical media release, even I'm now thinking, well, I won't bootleg them, because I don't want to bootleg multiple seasons of something over and over and over again. You know what I mean? So it's just it's not about condition. It is about, it's conditioning people into becoming used to it, how things are. And that's what, and that's what happens. You know, the market shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. And Disney and that, they knew that would happen. You'd have an explosion of bootleg, a lot of interest in it, because you've got the collectors who can't get this stuff. And ultimately, as I said, the collecting market, the physical media market is shrinking. Right? There's no denying that. On a daily basis, DVD sales, Blu-ray, 4K sales are slowly going like that overall, when you take the whole numbers. Right, you may have a growth in 4K, you may see a growth in Blu-ray, but take the wider picture of everything and you see a shrinking. Okay. And as these people drop away, for whatever reason, can't bothered anymore, cost of living, etc., change of circumstances, all that stuff. With that shrinking comes the shrinking of physical of bootleg as well. And you're seeing those things combined, and you're seeing the bootleg market now slowly just go into nothingness. Go into nothing. But that's a different subject that we could talk about.
We can maybe delve into that at some point. Right, so over to the audience now, and stick down in the comments what you think about this. You know, does social media influence us? Does it sort of feed an addiction to collecting?
Is it? Do you have positive? Have you got any positive stories to share of influence? Any negative? We'd like to hear both sides of it, obviously.
Absolutely.
Both sides most definitely exist. I mean, I think that we can all say that we've experienced a negative and a positive from it. Let us know below. Or is there anything that we've missed out that we could, that you thought we might have brought into this discussion that we haven't? A viewpoint that we've neglected to touch upon. Or an area of it that we've neglected to touch upon. Let us know.
Absolutely. Please give us a thumbs up as well. That really does help me out. And
subscribe.
Yes, subscribe to AJ that way, wherever you are.
That way.
You're that way. That way. And thanks for watching the video. If you've stayed this long, do appreciate it. And we'll be back again at some point with another discussion. We might even do maybe one where we sort of talk about what's going on in the particular week.
News releases, just a general chit chat.
We might do one of those.
Right, and just see where it goes, because that's what we do before this and after.
We do.
And thinking, well, why don't we just record that? And because it's still, you know what I mean? It's still talking about the stuff. It might
just hit. Hit record and go.
Right, absolutely.
Cool.
Why not? The thing is, I think we should try that sometime. Just a general chit chat about, and see where it takes us.
Going on. Absolutely. Cool. Well, thanks ever so much for joining me once again. and see everyone later.
Take care. Look after yourselves.
Cheers.